the first fight on the prelims, on the early prelims, is going to be Carlos Ulberg and Nicolae Negumereanu.
He ain't the most technical guy, but I mean, he's durable. He has a lot of heart. He's gonna keep walking forward. And we criticize fighters all the time by not going for the finish and just they're content. Just even Piotr Young, just the fight going 5 rounds. Oh, I won. Okay, you could do a little bit more.
Yeah,
taking rounds off. He don't take a round off.
Yeah, that's true. But now in this fight he is going against Carlos Ulberg. I want to say they was on the same card last time together, if I'm not mistaken. But Carlos, he only got that one loss to Kennedy.
You know what's funny? It's like these two guys are complete opposites. One guy's clean technical, the other guy is dirty, he's more of a brawler. He's gonna get a shot to give a shot. You know, it just is. But we said the same thing about Tayfun too when we saw that fight end.
Yeah.
But Tayfun is just more wild and he wants you to get against the cage where you can't move. But Nicolae got a lot of ways he can finish you.
But he not the biggest finisher though. Like he ain't the most prolific finisher. He got that one. No, he got a finish against Ike Villanueva, and then he got a finish against Ihor Lateria. But that was his first fight.
And that was brutal too. The referee let that fight go on so long.
Dude, Ihor wasn't ready. And I said this, dude, when we did our predictions. His record is filled with a bunch of people from his local fight scene. And it was just a bunch of people.
He had one guy who was like 5-20.
Yeah, and so he never really stood a chance against Nicolae. But the Carlos Ulberg, I think he's going to be more clean, more technical with the kickboxing. I don't think that Nicolae is... The best thing for him to do is try to use his pressure and get him up against the cage and really to grapple, but he ain't a grappler like that. So
it's not really the grappling, it's more the pressure.
Yeah, and that could break Carlos.
He got like a weird, like a Tyson Fury type style. I know it's boxing, but like he uses size and strength to like exhaust people. And the thing is, it's weird because we've seen Carlos beat that way before against Kennedy. Because he was destroying Kennedy with kicks, with jabs, 1-2. But then...
But Nicolae don't have...
It wasn't a cardio thing, but it was just the pressure.
Dude, Nicolae don't have the type of power Kennedy got, though.
I think he has more power than Kennedy.
But he don't land. He's not as accurate. And he's not a prolific finisher. I mean, he got 2 wins by knockout. But, I mean, this guy really just didn't deserve to be in there. As far as the level of competition he's faced, Ihor, that was kind of like a gimme. But at this level, with somebody who has UFC experience, a lot of those guys, Nicolae can't really just finish them like that. Nicolae, whatever.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, he didn't finish Kennedy, and he didn't finish Alexa Cameron. And who else did he not finish, though?
Whoever this guy is,
Safarov. But that's the kickboxer guy. He was a kickboxer, undefeated kickboxer.
Carlos is a kickboxer, so that might be a stylistic.
It's just so weird because one issue I have with Carlos, he has the Edson Barbosa thing.
Yeah.
Because he's good at his movement, his speed, his striking, but when it comes to hands, he has good offensive hands. But I noticed because when he fought Kennedy, when they were throwing punches at the same time, that's when he got hurt. So he has that. Well, he doesn't want it to be a boxing match. He wanted to be a kickboxing match.
Yeah.
And like, if you could put pressure, because that's all Kennedy did, walking down. Kennedy didn't do nothing else. He didn't really.
He just got close enough
and landed the right hand and knocked him out with the uppercut. But the thing is, the difference is Nicolae doesn't have the hands that Kennedy does. You know what I mean? Nicolae has power, but Nicolae is more of, I'm gonna get you against cage and do mortar clinch, knees, punches,
overwhelm you,
combinations and stuff. So this gets real interesting.
Because at distance, Carlos, if he can control the range, big advantage.
But he's not going to, and Nicolae is one of them guys, he's not going to let you do that. So this is where it gets, I think the skills might kind of cancel out a little bit.
A lot of people might stay on the outside. They have a difficult time being able to get past the range of certain fighters. Kennedy went scorched earth in that fight too. Remember? He was down and he just kind of really said, forget it, and just went in. And it just worked out for him. But a lot of people can't really do that. But Nicolae is one of those people who can't. Is this how you say his name, man? I'm a little concerned.
It's Nicolae. I've been calling him Nicolae for
Negumereanu, man. That TKO he had of Villanueva, man, that was almost resemblant to how Kennedy beat Carlos Ulberg, and I could very well a little bit, man.
It looked like they
more than a little bit.
They were slugging it out though. When Nicolae fought against,
but when Kennedy closed the distance for those little 5 seconds,
yeah,
it looked just like that though.
Yeah, they did throw punches though. They both were just throwing punches.
It's a clash of styles, like you said, man. Carlos want to control the range and the distance, but Nicolae want to close the range and close the distance and land those power shots. But I don't see Nicolae being able to just finish Carlos even if he closes the distance. I feel like if anything, he'll try to control him for a while against the cage.
We're talking about Nicolae's knockout power, but when he hurts people, when he smells blood, he gets them out of there. And sometimes he can be kind of calculated against certain opponents, like against Kennedy. Not a lot happened in that fight. They both were kind of tentative, but against certain opponents, when he hurt them, he gets them out of there.
Well, Kennedy is a common opponent. That's probably why we kept bringing up Kennedy's name. I was like, why are we talking about Kennedy so much? And now I'm looking at it, it's like, well, he won to split the shit. I don't think he won that fight.
He didn't win that fight. Kennedy definitely beat Nicolae. But then again, Kennedy don't pull the trigger sometimes too, man. But
Carlos didn't pull the trigger against Fabio Shayilan either, man. That was a super boring fight. A lot didn't really happen. He kind of just outpointed him.
I'm going to tell you this about Carlos. If he would have changed his game plan, he would have won against Kennedy easily. Because if he had success doing the body kicks and leg kicks. When he started throwing hands, that's when he started struggling.
Yeah.
So if he can do that against Nicolae,
but see, that might be a lot of his offense is more based on the kickboxing aspect, and a lot of his defense, man. If Nicolae can close the distance and make him uncomfortable with the hands, because that's what Kennedy did. Kennedy kind of realized, okay, the kicks are a little bit too much, but the hands, like exclusively just hands, I can catch him. And Nicolae might can beat him like that, man.
Yeah, and Nicolae is kind of similar to Kennedy, except he's more aware.
Yeah,
it sucks to say this because Nicolae's not the most technical fighter, but he has better defense awareness than Kennedy. Like, he can walk forward, he does feints and stuff, but he can parry kicks, he can parry punches, and he has just enough like defensive prowess to not get knocked out and to throw his punches. And this thing is with Kennedy, when Kennedy fought against Carlos, he was walking forward, he was just blocking, block, wasn't checking no leg kicks, wasn't parrying no kicks, nothing.
Terminator style.
And I think Nicolae is going to have that same aggressiveness, but he's going to be a little bit more tentative, man. He's going to look for openings to get. Well, really, he only fight one way to get him against Cage, but he's going to definitely put himself in that position. The question is, how is Carlos going to fold? Is Carlos going to fold, and can he
control the range and the distance? Because at distance, man, it's clear advantage, but can he withstand the pressure of Nicolae? And a few months ago, I would have said he can, but now getting back into the fight and seeing how the fights normally play out, I don't think so. Because Tayfun is like a tier below a Nicolae, in my opinion. And he was able to do that to Tayfun, but Tayfun has a lot of defensive holes and stuff in his game that I just don't think Nicolae. And I ain't saying Nicolae is the best defensively. He ain't the most defensively sound, but he had, like you said, he has more awareness than a Kennedy and a Tayfun. Like, I think Nicolae is just a tier above them. Yeah. Now, I ain't saying he great or nothing, but he has a little bit more to offer, and I think that is where Carlos is gonna have trouble. So I'm ultimately gonna pick Nicolae. Yeah,
it's the last thing I'm gonna say, man. Like, with Nicolae, he has had a couple of fights where he was out-jabbed. Safarov out-jabbed him. Alexa,
that was a while ago.
Kimura, but they both out-jabbed him, man. And honestly, I don't think he beat Alexa, if I'm just be honest. But those fights where he got out-jabbed and Carlos dropped Tayfun with the jab.
It seems like Nicolae is getting these close decisions, these split decisions. So you got to think about that too. It's like, if the fight is that close, is Carlos going to be able to do enough to make it clear that, hey, I won this fight unanimously?
I think on paper, it's funny, on paper, Carlos is supposed to destroy Nicolae.
That's what I'm a little afraid of, because I kind of want to pick Carlos.
Because Nicolae, he's one of the type guys, he ain't the most clean fighter, but he's going to find a way to get the W. I don't know how he does it, but he's going to find a way to win. And Carlos only has one loss in the UFC, but he found a way to lose that fight. But
I think that was more Kennedy just found a way to win, if anything. But in all fairness, Nicolae definitely got beat by Kennedy his own self.
Oh yeah, but
and so, but
if this fight goes 3 rounds, Nicolae definitely is gonna win this, man. He has a history of winning these close fights.
Carlos would have to get a finish, but I don't think that Nicolae is going to be susceptible to a finish. Like, there's no way he's going to do what Tayfun did. Like, there's just no way.
Because Nicolae has Kennedy's durability. Yeah, and he might be more durable than Kennedy. Yeah, but he's going to be more patient. And the thing is with Carlos, I think Carlos like fighting against the Tayfuns. Doesn't make sense. He prefer his opponent to walk forward and he can just snipe, pop. Yes, coming in. I don't think he felt comfortable fighting against the Kennedys and Nicolae.
Because this fight only lasted 1 minute, and remember, I told you, I was like, man, this fight not going to be close. when we did that prediction, bro, I was like, man, this is like a pick me for Carlos. Oh, close. I said this fight is not going to be close. This is, I mean, I didn't see that it would be competitive at all, and it literally was not competitive at all. It was 1 minute and 15 seconds. But Tayfun is one of those guys, in my opinion. That's why I'm not really holding too much on this win, because he's one of those guys that I question, do he need to really be there right now?
Exactly, right now, because he looked better when he first came to the UFC, but now just, you can tell Tayfun is just trying to get another win by any means.
To stay in there. And I just don't think he had the skills right now to be in there. So I think that was a pick-me fight for Carlos. Like, it was kind of like an easy W. Yeah. But I don't think, Nicolae's not going to let that happen, man. Yeah, on paper, it's supposed to happen. On paper.
Oh, yeah, he's supposed to.
On paper.
Easy decision for Carlos.
Decision. On paper, Carlos, if a good Carlos show up, he can finish him.
Maybe.
But when we look at Nicolae's been in there on some tough fights, man, and squeaked out some split decisions, man, and sometimes he's been able to overwhelm people with pressure. So I got to pick Nicolae.
And I think this is the last thing I'm going to say, man. Nicolae struggled against certain boxers. And the thing is, it's interesting because Carlos has the hands, but he's not a boxer. He's a kickboxer. And he's been out, and Nicolae's been out jabbed by boxers, man, but not kickboxers. So I don't think the kickboxing is going to hurt Carlos. You know what I mean? Because I don't think he'll be able to stay on the outside and because like he don't have hands enough to like frustrate Nicolae. You know what I mean? So
that makes sense.
His boxing not good enough. Well, it's not. I'm not saying it's not good enough, bro. But it's like he's not comfortable just throwing hands. But honestly, when I first seen this fight, I was like, oh, easy decision win for Nicolae. When they first announced it,
because he knows how to get that fight for 3 rounds too. He knows how to get that fight to 15 minutes. If he can't get a finish, and that means Carlos going to be fighting defensively and trying to control the range. Carlos going to be trying to back up because Nicolae is going to be pressuring him. Carlos is going to be backing up. You know he got this thing where he like to back up against the cage and kind of snipe.
Throw kicks, though.
I know, but then that allows Nicolae to walk him down essentially. And I just think that it's just all the ingredients for Nicolae to get a decision.
30-27.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Carlos did really well and maybe even drop Nicolae here or there, but not be able to finish him, but then still get pressured and lose. You know how sometimes a striker does really good, but they still lose that decision?
Yeah.
If the guy kind of goes into that indestructible Terminator mode, I can see something like that happening, where he might drop him here or there, but can't really do nothing with it because he ain't got no submissions to really follow up on it. And it ain't like you're going to knock Nicolae out in one punch.
Yeah.
It would have to be the absolute best version of Carlos, and it would have to be Nicolae just being outclassed. But I just don't know.
Reckless where he just don't respect Carlos' hands.
I can see a head kick. I can see something happening for Carlos, but the only thing is everything got to go right for Carlos for it to happen.
And Nicolae never give him that space.
And I just can't bet on it, man. If I had to bet my house on it, I